The Vanishing of Mélanie Ethier, a Canadian mystery, New Liskeard. A quiet town nestled in the forests of northeastern Ontario. Surrounded by still lakes. Framed by endless pine. The kind of place where nothing truly bad is supposed to happen. But in the early hours of September 29, 1996, that illusion was shattered. And it all began with a girl. A movie night. And a short walk home that became a decades-long mystery. Her name was Mélanie Ethier. 15 years old. Fluent in French and English. A good student. A bright smile. A quiet sense of determination. She told her best friend that she wanted to become a teacher one day. She loved poetry, drawing, and dancing to her favorite CDs. She lived with her mother, Celine, in a modest home. They were close. Like best friends. They had their struggles, money was tight, but they had each other. On that fateful night, Mélanie was doing something perfectly ordinary. Watching a movie with friends. It was a Saturday. She left her house around 8 p.m., heading to her friend Ryan Chatwin's home. They watched Sudden Death, a thriller starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. It wasn't particularly scary. But something about the timing. The atmosphere. Feels haunting now. The group hung out until after midnight. No drinking. No drama. Just a normal evening. At 1:30 a.m., Mélanie stood up. She smiled. Said goodbye. And stepped into the night. That would be the last time anyone saw her. The walk home was short, less than a kilometer. But something, or someone, was waiting for her along that route. She should have called for a ride. But the phone at her house had been disconnected. A missed bill. A minor inconvenience. That may have changed everything. So she chose to walk. Alone. Under the dim orange glow of streetlights. Across the quiet Armstrong Street Bridge. Past sleeping homes and silent shadows. And then, she was gone. The next morning, Celine Ethier woke up. And immediately sensed something was wrong. The house was still. Too still. Mélanie's bed hadn't been slept in. Her shoes weren't by the door. There was no note. No call. Just silence. Celine contacted police that same day. And a frantic search began. Local police. Volunteers. Search and rescue teams. They scoured the woods. Dragged the rivers. Knocked on every door in town. They followed her walking path. They checked the bridge. They searched the Wabi River, fearing the worst. But there was nothing. No footprints. No personal items. No struggle. It was as if Mélanie had been plucked from the earth. Without a trace. Then came the theories. Each one darker than the last. One witness claimed they saw Mélanie on the bridge that night. A car pulled up beside her. 2 men inside. There was a brief conversation. And then, she got in. Willingly. The car drove off into the dark. But the account was never verified. The witness came forward late. Too late for crucial evidence. And that version of events, if true, raises more questions than it answers. Who were the men? Why did she get in? Was it someone she knew? Or was she forced? Whispers spread. Suspicions grew. Some pointed at her father. But he wasn't even in town. Others mentioned Denis Levier, a man dating Celine's close friend. He had a reputation. And a disturbing past involving other teenage girls. Still, no charges were ever laid. Then came the most chilling theory of all, that Mélanie may have been targeted for who she was. A young black girl. In a mostly white town. Could she have been the victim of a hate crime? The leads piled up, over 700 tips in total. Every one followed. Every one led nowhere. The years passed. Celine never stopped searching. She kept Melanie's room untouched. She spoke at rallies. She begged the public for help. And still, nothing. Until 2021. 25 years after Mélanie vanished. A podcast reopened the case. CBC's The Next Call, hosted by David Ridgen, featured her story. And suddenly, people were listening again. A man came forward with new information. Something he had never told anyone before. He directed police to a forested area, about 10 kilometers from where Mélanie was last seen. Drones were sent in. Search dogs were released. Excavation teams arrived. Hope flickered. But once again, nothing was found. No body. No belongings. No answers. Just more questions. Celine has come to terms with the hardest truth of all, that her daughter is most likely dead. But one thing she will never accept is silence. "I believe Mélanie deserves to be found," she once said. She's not garbage. She's not something you throw away at the side of the road. The case remains open. The Ontario Provincial Police still investigate. A $50,000 reward is offered for information that leads to an arrest or conviction. Someone, somewhere, knows what happened. Maybe they were on that bridge. Maybe they were in the car. Or maybe they've been silent for far too long. Mélanie Ethier was 15 years old. She had plans. She had a future. She had a name. She was real. And she deserves to come home. If you have any information, no matter how small, call the OPP. Help end the silence. Because Mélanie's story isn't over. Not until she's found. Rest in peace, Mélanie. You are not forgotten.